The world held its breath as the largest infrastructure project in African history was signed. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing on June 12, 2025, no one could have predicted that this meeting would completely change the future of the African continent. This $18 billion agreement will mark the beginning of a new era, not only for BurkinaFaso, but for all of Africa. Why is this railway project of such critical importance? Because Africa's biggest problem is the lack of inter-country connectivity. There are resources, but no roads to transport them. There are people, but no means to travel. This project will fundamentally solve all these problems. However, there are not just commercial interests behind this agreement. The events that took place during Traor's visit to Beijing show how strategically important this project is. Chinese President Xi Jinping hosted Traoré at the Great Wall and said, "We will build Africa's future together." So, how will this 5,000 kilometers railway network change Africa? Which countries will it connect? And most importantly, why is this project worrying Western countries? Traoré's arrival in Beijing was remarkable in itself. The BurkinaFaso leader welcomed with the highest protocol of the People's Republic of China. Waved to the crowd waiting at the airport while banners reading Africa China. "Friendship is eternal," were waving. This reception was the first sign of how important the agreement was. The negotiations lasted 3 days, and new details emerged each day. On the first day, the general framework was determined. On the second day, technical details were addressed. On the third day, the historic signing ceremony took place. The developments during this process became a chain of events, closely followed by the world press. The most striking aspect of the agreement is that it covers not only BurkinaFaso, but also neighboring countries. This 5,000 kilometers network will extend from BurkinaFaso to Mali, Niger, Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, and Togo. This means an unprecedented regional integration project in African history. The technical specifications of the project are also fascinating. China's latest technology will be used with trains capable of traveling at 250 kilometers. This speed will provide a transportation standard. Never before seen in Africa, the journey from Ouagadougou to Accra will take only 4 hours. However, the most interesting detail is the project's financing structure. China covers 60% of the agreement with grants, while providing 40% as a 50-year loan with 0.5% interest. These terms are tremendously advantageous for Africa. To compare, while the World Bank provides loans at 7% interest, China is providing almost free financing. At the signing ceremony, Traoré said, "This project is not just a railway, it is Africa's honor project. Now it will take 2 hours to reach our neighboring country." Instead of 2 days to go to Europe, these words earned a standing ovation from the 300-person invited audience in the hall. Chinese President Xi Jinping's response was also noteworthy. "Our friendship with Brother Africa crosses mountains and seas. This railway will connect the hearts of 2 continents," thus theatrical expressions showed the importance China's diplomacy places on Africa. The project's construction schedule is also quite ambitious. Construction will begin in 2026 and be completed in 8 years. During this period, 50,000 African workers will be employed. Additionally, China will send 10,000 engineers to Africa and provide technical training to local engineers. The first phase will be the 500 kilometers line between BurkinaFaso's capital Ouagadougou and Ghana's capital Accra. This section will enter service. In 2028, it was announced that Traoré will also be on the train during test runs. The economic effects of the project are multidimensional. Transportation costs will decrease by 80%. Trade volume will increase by 300%. It will be possible to transport Burkina Faso's gold, Ghana's cocoa, and Mali's cotton much faster and cheaper. This will significantly increase the competitiveness of countries in the region. A revolution will also occur in the tourism sector. Intra-African tourism is expected to increase by 500%. Ghanaian wanting to see Burkina Faso's cultural riches will now be able to travel easily. Similarly, visiting Mali's historical sites will become much easier. There will also be major developments. In education, university students will be able to easily go to schools in neighboring countries. This will increase knowledge sharing and academic cooperation. China has also committed to establishing technical universities in each country. The effects on the health sector are also critical. In emergencies, patients can be transferred to hospitals in other countries much faster, especially citizens of other countries will be able to benefit from quality health services in Ghana. However, the project has not only commercial, but also strategic importance. Political integration between African countries will also strengthen. Meetings between leaders will be more frequent. Joint projects will be developed. This will contribute to strengthening the African Union to understand China's place in Africa strategy. This project needs to be evaluated from a global perspective. While America and Europe's investments in Africa are decreasing, China is doing the opposite. This project will consolidate China's influence in Africa. The environmental effects of the project have also been carefully planned. Electric trains will be used. Energy will be provided by solar panels. Carbon emissions will be zero. This will contribute to Africa's fight against climate change. The technology transfer dimension is also very important. Chinese engineers will teach African colleagues the latest railway technologies. In 10 years, Africa will be able to carry out its own railway projects. Local material use is also part of the project. 60% of steel, cement, and other construction materials will be produced in Africa. This will make a great contribution to local economies. New steel factories will be established in BurkinaFaso. Human resource development is also critical. 50,000 workers will not only work in construction, but also receive vocational training. When the project is completed, Africa will have its own railway experts. Women's employment also has special importance. It is planned that 30% of workers will be women. Women will be employed as a priority, especially in station management and customer services. Youth programs are also comprehensive. Special training programs will be organized for young people aged 18 to 25. This young people will be the technicians and operators of the project. In 10 years, an expert generation in modern railway management will have grown up in Africa. The digital integration dimension is also remarkable. The entire system will be managed with digital platforms. Everything from ticket sales to maintenance will be digital. This will contribute to Africa's digital transformation. Security measures have also been planned in great detail. A security center will be established every 50 kilometers. Modern camera systems and satellite technology will be used. Special measures will be taken against terrorist attacks. The project's impact on regional security is also important. Rapid deployment of security forces will be possible. Coordination in the fight against terrorism will increase. Solutions will be produced for security problems in the Sahel region. It is also a great opportunity in terms of economic diplomacy. African countries will be able to develop common economic policies. Establishing a customs union will become easier. Common currency discussions will accelerate. The media's approach to the project was also interesting. While Western media used headlines of China colonizing Africa, African media made the description Liberation Project. This perspective difference shows the geopolitical importance of the project. Frank's reaction was particularly harsh. Macron made the statement that Africa has fallen into a debt trap. However, Traoré's response was clear. We now make decisions. Without anyone's permission, the U.S. approach was more cautious. Africa Command was content with stating that it was monitoring developments. However, it leaked from backstage that worried meetings were held at the Pentagon. The European Union's attitude was complex. While Germany supported the project, France opposed it. Italy declared that it remained neutral. This divided attitude showed the inconsistency in the EU's Africa policy. Russia's attitude was supportive. Putin congratulated Traoré and proposed cooperation for similar projects. This also reflected the multipolar world order on Africa. Turkey's approach was also interesting. Erdogan announced his support for the project and stated that Turkish companies could also contribute. This was evaluated as part of Turkey's Africa opening. India's reaction was competition-focused. The Modi government announced that it was preparing proposals to Africa for similar projects. This also showed that Africa was the winning side in the competition between major powers. Brazil's attitude was positive within the framework of South-South cooperation. Lula said he supported the project and Brazil was ready to contribute. The reactions of international financial institutions were complex. While the World Bank expressed concerns, The Aran Infrastructure Investment Bank supported the project. The IMF announced that it was in the evaluation process. The excitement created by the project in the first stage began to show its effects even before construction. Land prices along the railway route increased by 300%. Investors began developing hotel and shopping center projects around stations. The reaction of local people was also enthusiastic. In polls conducted in Burkina Faso, 87% of the population stated that they supported the project. Support among young people especially rose to 95%. Farmers also have great hopes for the project. They will be able to get their products to markets much faster. This will both reduce costs and increase revenues. Women entrepreneurs have also started to evaluate opportunities. They plan to establish small businesses around stations. The Chinese government announced that it would open special credit programs to support these initiatives. University students are also excited. They will now be able to easily go to schools in neighboring countries. An Erasmus-style African exchange program is also being planned. Artists and musicians are also showing great interest in the project. African music festivals are planned to be held along the railway network. This will increase cultural interaction. Athletes are also seeing new opportunities. Travel for league matches will become much easier. Organizing African championships will also become easier. The business world's excitement is also great. Small businesses will now be able to access regional markets. E-commerce companies state that logistics costs will be greatly reduced. The banking sector is also preparing. Common payment systems will be developed. Money transfer will become easier. Investment opportunities will increase. Telecommunications companies will also build infrastructure along the project. 5G network will be established along the railway. This will contribute to the construction of digital Africa. There will also be major investments in the energy sector. Solar panel factories will be established. Electricity production will increase. Energy trade will develop. The mining sector will also benefit greatly. Transportation of mining products will become much cheaper. Operating new mining sites will become economical. The transformation in the agricultural sector will also be very comprehensive. Transportation of seeds, fertilizers, and agricultural machinery will become easier. Information sharing among farmers will increase. Livestock will also develop. Live animal trade will become safe. Sharing of veterinary services will be possible. The fishing sector will also benefit from the railway. Fish products from coastal countries will be transported quickly to inland areas. This will contribute to eliminating protein deficiency. Forest products trade will also develop. Cooperation for sustainable forest management will increase. Wood processing industry will develop. There will also be major developments in the textile sector. The connection between cotton production areas and processing centers will be strengthened. The Made in Africa brand will be strengthened. The chemical industry will also develop. Raw material transportation costs will decrease. New factories will be established. The pharmaceutical industry will also show development. Opportunities will also arise for the automotive sector. Transportation of vehicle parts will become easier. Local automotive industry may develop. The technology sector will also benefit. Greatly, data centers will be established. Software companies will develop. Digital payment systems will become widespread. There will also be new opportunities in the media sector. Multilingual broadcasting will develop. News agencies will be strengthened. The film industry will grow. The advertising sector will also develop. Regional campaigns will be organized. Brand awareness will increase. Marketing strategies will develop. The insurance sector will also grow. Transportation insurance will develop. Risk management will improve. New products will be developed. There will also be an explosion in the real estate sector. Station surroundings will be valued. New city centers will be formed. Housing projects will develop. The construction sector will also make great gains. Infrastructure projects will multiply. Local firms will be strengthened. The construction machinery market will grow. The social effects of this giant project will also be very large. Family reunions will become easier. Intercultural marriages will increase. Language learning will develop. The impact of the project on youth is particularly important. Career opportunities will increase. Entrepreneurship will develop. Living standards will rise. New opportunities will also arise for women. Participation in employment will increase. Economic independence will be strengthened. Social status will rise. Elderly people will also benefit from the project. Access to health services will become easier. Family visits will increase. Social life will be revived. Arrangements will also be made for disabled people. Accessible stations will be established. Special services will be provided. Social integration will increase. Educational opportunities for children will also increase. School trips will become easier. Cultural activities will multiply. Imagination capacity will develop. The environmental benefits of the project are also great. Carbon emissions will decrease. Air pollution will decrease. Natural habitats will be protected. Biodiversity will also be protected. Environmental bridges will be established. Animal crossing paths will be built. Ecological balance will be ensured. Protection of water resources is also a priority. Rainwater collection systems will be installed. Wastewater treatment plants will be built. Noise pollution will be minimized. Sound barriers will be installed. Silent train technology will be used. Visual pollution will also be prevented. Landscape arrangements will be made. Natural appearance will be preserved. Aesthetic designs will be applied. The cultural effects of the project will also be deep. Language diversity will be preserved. Traditions will be shared. Artistic interaction will increase. There will also be major developments. In music, the mixing of African rhythms will create new styles. Music festivals will multiply. Literature will also develop. Multicultural works will increase. Translation activities will develop. Book trade will revive. The cinema sector will also grow. Joint productions will increase. Film festivals will multiply. Mollywood will expand. Theater will also develop. Traveling, theater groups will be established. Cultural exchange will increase. Local plays will be enriched. Painting and sculpture arts will also develop. Art galleries will open. Artists' exchange will increase. Collecting will develop. Handicrafts will also be preserved. Traditional production will continue. Tourist interest will increase. Economic value will be gained. Culinary culture will also develop. Food diversity will increase. Restaurant chains will be established. Gastronomy tourism will develop. Clothing culture will also be affected. Fashion design will develop. Traditional clothing will be preserved. Textile art will grow. Sports culture will also develop. Local sports will become widespread. International competitions will increase. Athlete training will develop. The technological dimension of the project is also very advanced. Artificial intelligence will be used. Autonomous trains will be tested. Smart ticketing systems will be established. Blockchain technology will also be used. Secure payment systems will be established. Transparent operation will be ensured. Data security will increase. Internet of Things, IoT technology will be widely used. Sensors will be everywhere. Real-time monitoring will be done. Predictive maintenance will be applied. Big data analysis will also be done. Passenger behaviors will be examined. Optimization will be provided. Service quality will increase. Mobile applications will be developed. Ticket sales will become easier. Real-time information will be given. Customer experience will develop. Virtual reality will also be used. Training, simulations will be conducted. Security training will be given. Operator training will develop. Augmented reality applications will also be available. Tourist guidance will be done. Historical information will be presented. Cultural experience will increase. Drone technology will also be used. Security monitoring will be done. Maintenance checks will be performed. Emergency response will be accelerated. Robotic systems will also be integrated. Cleaning automation will be done. Load carrying will become easier. Human labor savings will be achieved. 3D printing technology will also be used. Spare parts production will be accelerated. Maintenance costs will decrease. Local production will increase. After the completion of the project, Africa's position in the world economy will be strengthened. Trade volume will increase. Investment, attraction capacity will develop. Integration into global value chains will accelerate. This giant project will not only be a transportation revolution, but also the beginning of Africa's renaissance. This agreement signed by Traoré with China will determine the continent's place in the 21st century. This 5,000 kilometers railway will be a bridge to Africa's future. In conclusion, this historic agreement opens the doors to a new era for Africa. When Traoré's visionary leadership and China's technological power combine, seemingly impossible projects become reality. This railway will not only be a physical connection, but a lifeline carrying the hopes of African peoples.